Hello, people of the internet. Welcome back to another Minecraft mod showcase. I was going to upload this last month, but I never got around to recording it. My New Year's resolution is to make more videos. Will I actually do that? Probably not. Anyway, we're gonna be looking at the factory must grow again, because my old video is pretty outdated, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. It's like the most popular video on my channel. Why do you watch this trash? I'm kidding, I love you. Anyway, let's just jump into it. The first thing it adds is a couple of new ores and other blocks that generate naturally. There's fire clay, lead ore, nickel ore, and lithium. And some decorative blocks, bauxite and galena. And you can crush these. If I grab that, you can crush galena to get lead, and you can crush bauxite to get bauxite powder, which you need to make aluminum, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, the first thing you'll need is to make cast iron, which is just iron and coal pressed into a basin. And you get a cast iron ingot, and come over here and you can make a coke oven from 4 cast iron ingots and a block of industrial iron. And you can pretty much make these as big as you want. And with the coke oven, you just throw in a bit of coal, and you have to pipe out the carbon monoxide and also pipe out the creosote, and eventually the doors will open up and it'll spit out some coal coke. And what you do with the creosote is you can spout it onto a plank and you'll get hardened plank, which I'll show you what it does later. Next, you're gonna have to take that fire clay from earlier, and you can smelt it up into fireproof bricks. And you take 4 fireproof bricks, 4 cast iron pipes, and a block of cast iron, and that makes the blast furnace output. And then you build up some with some fireproof bricks and some reinforcements, but you also need this blast furnace hatch, which is again 4 fireproof bricks, 2 cast iron pipes, 2 cast iron ingots, and a cast iron fluid tank. And you also need this blast stove, which is 2 cast iron pipes, 2 iron fluid tanks, 2 fireproof bricks. And what you need to do is to pipe in creosote from the bottom, and then you pipe out hot air from the top, and then you can pipe out exhaust and pipe in air from any side. And you'll need this air intake, which is a shaft, propeller, cast iron pipe, 2 cogwheels, industrial iron block, and andesite bars. And these actually don't take any stress units, so you can just run it off a water wheel at max speed. Now you take the coal coke and you crush it. You also need some crushed lime sand, and you get coal coke dust and lime sand. And then you come over to the blast furnace, climb up here, and then you drop in the dust, lime sand, raw iron. For some reason, the blast furnace isn't working, but you're supposed to pipe out the molten steel and molten slag into these casting basins, which is 3 fireproof bricks, cast iron pipe, and 5 cast iron ingots. You pipe in the steel and the slag into these basins, and then you funnel it out. I just gave myself a steel ingot, which you can use on the hardened planks and get steel casings. And another thing you can do with the steel ingots is you can press them 3 times. And you get a heavy plate, which you can also use on the steel casings, and you get a heavy machinery casing. Now you can also upgrade the blast furnace with these steel reinforcements, which is made from 3 steel ingots, 3 heavy plates, and 3 fireproof bricks. And then you can just place them all around. You can also place another furnace hatch on top, and that will collect furnace gas, which you can also use to fuel the blast stove. And then you just place a chute on top of the hatch, and all the items will just go through it. Now the next thing you'll need is a steel mechanism, which you take a heavy plate with, and you deploy a steel cogwheel, a nickel sheet, a large steel cogwheel, a lead sheet, screws, and a screwdriver. And you have to do it multiple times. Now the next thing you'll need is a mechanical input and a surface scanner, and this is how you find oil. So the input is a shaft, heavy machinery casing, and a steel mechanism. And the surface scanner is 2 steel mechanisms, machinery casing, and 6 electron tubes. And you just place the scanner on top of the input and then give it some rotation. It's 64 RPM. So, and then these Nixie tubes will light up, and it will show you what chunk has oil in it. And so over here, there's an oil deposit all the way down at bedrock. So you have to dig all the way down. And there's some liquid crude oil down here. And you might need that. But you go down, and then you come all the way back up with industrial pipes. And then you'll have to make a pump jack. Now before we can make the pump jack, we're going to need to make rubber, which you need a steel chemical vat made from 6 heavy plates, a steel fluid tank, and 2 nickel sheets. You're also going to need that industrial mixer up there, made from 4 screws, a large steel cogwheel, 2 steel mechanisms, heavy machinery casing, and a shaft. And place the industrial mixer up there, and you need a mixing blade, which just 2 shafts, 2 heavy plates, and a propeller. And you need a heavy oil, which you get from distilling crude oil, which is why I said you need that liquid crude oil down there. You need oil before you can get oil, for some reason. So you just put in the heavy oil and some sulfur dust, mix it up. And you get rubber. And take a rubber sheet to a stone cutter, and you get synthetic string. And now to actually get the oil for the pump jack base, it's 2 synthetic string, steel fluid tank, machinery casing, industrial pipe, 2 steel pipes, and 2 steel mechanisms. For the pump jack crank, that's 2 synthetic string, 2 heavy plates, steel mechanism, machinery casing, and 2 pieces of rebar. which you make in the stone cutter, and need these pump jack parts, which is just a block of steel in the stone cutter. And for the hammer holder, need steel trusses, which is steel ingot and a stone cutter, 3 steel ingots and 2 pieces of rebar, and the hammer head, block of steel, heavy plate, and the end of the hammer there is a hammer part with 2 pieces of rebar. And then you just place everything like this, you glue the hammer together, and then you place the crank on a machine input and let it go. And sometimes the rotation will make it spin faster. And then you pipe the crude oil into this steel distillation controller, which is industrial pipe, 2 lead sheets, 2 electron tubes, 2 steel mechanisms, machinery casing, and a compass. And then you place these distillation outputs, which is 4 steel pipes, 4 steel fluid tanks, and machinery casing. And you place it like this. You output industrial pipe, output all the way up, and you'll get heavy oil, diesel, kerosene, naphtha, gasoline, and LPG, which is actually gas, so it floats to the top of the tank, which is kind of a cool detail. And you can distill the heavy oil again to make more heavy oil, lubrication oil, more diesel, more kerosene, and more naphtha. And now for the engines. There are these simple large engines and the large engine, which run on furnace gas. And they're also supposed to run on creosote, but for some reason they won't work with creosote. So you pump in the furnace gas and pump out the exhaust, and also need air to pipe in air. The simple engine spins at 128 RPM with 5,760 stress units, and the large engine, same speed with 7,000 stress units. The simple engine is these cast iron sheets and precision mechanism, and the normal large engine is a bunch of steel mechanisms, some heavy plates, steel fluid tank, heavy machinery casing. You also need aluminum. Now you can also make these regular engines, which is 2 steel ingots, 3 heavy plates, and machinery casing. And then you place it down and need to assemble it with the crankshaft, steel cogwheel, a large steel cogwheel, mechanical belt, 2 steel pipes, and steel mechanism. And you'll need to put in some pistons, which I think this just determines what fuel it'll use. So you can make the simple engine cylinder, uses furnace gas or creosote with 4 iron sheets and a flint and steel. Or you can make this diesel engine cylinder, which is just some aluminum sheets. And this engine cylinder, which uses gasoline, naphtha, or kerosene, which is made from a diesel engine cylinder and a spark plug. And the LPG engine cylinder is one of these engine cylinders and a brass pipe. And you can only put the same engine cylinder on the thing, and then you'd need to place a shaft in it to get the output. And next you can make the radial engine from four steel nuggets, shaft, machinery casing, and 3 steel ingots. And these just take the same components as the basic engine, and it takes like a bunch of engine cylinders. Next is the turbine engine, made from 5 heavy plates, 2 aluminum pipes, and a heavy machinery casing. And then you need a shaft, steel cogwheel, 2 steel fluid pipes, 2 steel mechanisms. And then you give it these turbines made from 8 iron sheets and a shaft. And this only uses kerosene. You need 4 turbines each engine block. Now for every engine, if you give one a industrial pipe, then it will be able to just take fuel from any adjacent fluid tanks. And that's what I've done with all of these engines. So the radial engine gives 100 RPM with 10,000 stress units. The turbine engine is 105 RPM with 10,500 stress units. And then I just have all the exhaust coming out. And you need to give them redstone power for them to work. And the basic engine has different types, which you use a empty schematic. You right click on the engine to switch the type, which you have to do before you put in the engine cylinders. But this is type I with two pistons with 100 RPM, 5,000 stress units, and the type V, 120 RPM, 6,000 stress units. Type W, 130 RPM, 6,500 stress units. Type U, which 100 RPM, 5,000 stress units, and the type Boxer, 100 RPM and 5,000 stress units. Now you can also put oil and coolant in the engines with this oil can and a cooling fluid bottle. And the oil can just these 5 brass sheets and 2 steel nuggets. And if I come over here to this lubrication oil, you can just fill it up from the tank. And this will make it stop using gasoline for a while, and it'll just use the oil. And the cooling fluid bottle is 6 plastic sheets and a light blue dye. The plastic is a little bugged though, because you need 200 millibuckets of molten plastic into a casting basin, but when you actually make the plastic, spout it, and pour it into the basin, it only gives 144 millibuckets, so it just never makes plastic. I don't know why it doesn't work, but you get molten plastic from either propylene or ethylene, which you get both of these from mixing naphtha in a chemical vat. And anyway, you put in some cooling fluid, which look it up, is water and ethylene. And then you put it in the bottle. And then you also use it on the engine, and it's basically the same as the oil. It just makes it not use fuel for a while. It just uses the oil and the coolant. Next, we're going to be getting into the electricity. And first, you're going to need a magnet alloy made from 2 nickel, 2 steel ingots, and you also need silicon, which made from liquid silicon, which is nether quartz, coal dust, and a blast furnace. Then you drop it in and mix it up. And you get a magnetic alloy, or 2 magnetic alloys. And what you're gonna need to do is throw it by a lightning rod and wait for lightning. And you can barely get any magnets this way. 'Cause I threw down a stack of alloy. I only got 28 magnets back. Now, one of the components you're gonna need is a capacitor, which is a heavy sheet with copper sheet, paper, and then another copper sheet. And you get capacitor. And then to make this generator, you're gonna need to use capacitor, heavy plate, and then you turn it in this winding machine, which I'll get to in a bit. Magnet, steel mechanism, and a screwdriver. The winding machine is made from 2 steel ingots, a shaft, machinery casing, steel mechanism, and a heavy plate. And there's no real way to automate this, for what I can tell. Is if I throw that in, and if I just had a funnel here, it would just go straight through. So even with a brass funnel, it just goes straight through. I just doing this manually. And sometimes it can fail. But if you just give the generator rotational power, and it just generates electricity. And you have all these lights, wires, bulbs, and stuff. Now I have this set up over here. You need these electrode holders from 4 steel ingots, 2 lead sheets, heavy machinery casing, and 2 copper wires. And you give these either copper or zinc electrodes. If I can find them. They basically do the same thing. It's just either copper or a block of zinc in a stone cutter. And you take it, throw in some bauxite. You need electricity to power the electrodes. You need 4 bauxite powder, actually. And it produces aluminum. You have to pipe out the exhaust. But the generator can only get you so far. So you're gonna need to make a rotor and some stators. So need 8 aluminum ingots and a block of steel, and some of these electronic coils, which is turn in a turning machine and made from steel nuggets and a magnetic alloy. And then you turn the turning machine. And that's how you get the rotor, and the stators are some magnets, some coils, some more aluminum, steel, or copper wire, and a block of steel. And you just place the rotor and the stators around it, and you spin it. And I had an accumulator here, and yeah, it just breaks for some reason. Why is it still spinning? Yeah, yeah, this is kind of buggy right now. So, but there's a steel motor. Maybe I can get the creative generator. There we go. Produces 4,845 stress units at 255 RPM, and you can only control what direction it spins. And to get the motor, you take a shaft and you put it in the winding machine and then deploy a magnet, steel mechanism, and a screwdriver. Now, over here, I was trying to make an arc furnace, but it didn't work. And the transformer just breaks every time I place it. So, but it's supposed to be a better way of making steel when it actually works. And you need these fireproof chemical vats made from 4 fireproof bricks, 2 circuit boards, steel chemical vat, a rubber sheet, and a heavy casing. And to get the circuit board is a whole process, which you need an etched circuit board, capacitor, resistor, transformer, and another resistor. To get the etched circuit board is a coated circuit board with sulfuric acid. The coated circuit board is just a gold sheet on an empty circuit board, which is 3 plastic and green dye. Now, there are also some weapons you can make. Saw in the intro, you can make pipe bombs, just pipe and TNT. And you throw them, and they don't destroy blocks, cause a knockback. You can make a flamethrower, which uses fuel. You can use the gasoline. Just spits flames. That's the recipe for the flamethrower. There's the quad potato cannon, which shoots four whatever you want to shoot, and the advanced potato cannon, which can shoot napalm potatoes. Which napalm on a potato, they explode. And you can also make the lithium blade. That's the recipe, and it uses lithium charges, and you catch it on fire, and you can shoot out flames. And you can come over and aren't you on fire? There we go. So that's everything for today's video. Everything is burning down around me. If you enjoyed, then go ahead and leave a like, comment telling me what you think, subscribe and ring the bell if you're new, follow me on Blue Sky at littlekeg038.bluesky.social. Everything will be in the description, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.